Welcome to another episode of City Talk, where we try to figure out what these people do all day. And by these people, I mean the hundreds of employees of the city of Pittsburgh. Say hello to Neil Connor, who is a colleague of mine in the Department of Innovation and Performance, or INP, as we like to say. Neil, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks, John. Thanks for having me.
So you started out as an intern in INP. How did that come about, and what were you doing?
So I had done a contracting job with someone that worked for the city, and an internship opened up for the service desk. And I was recommended to apply for the position and see if the team thought I was a good fit. They gave me a Zoom interview. I checked out with some of the stuff that they had been doing. The city is going under a massive tech refresh project right now, and that was what I had done as my contracting job.
And what is
I slotted in.
What is a massive tech refresh for the uninitiated, for the folks who don't know much about computers?
So a lot of the city computers that we have right now are 10, 15 years old. They're barely functioning. They're falling apart. And so we're taking all of their devices and giving them new Windows 10 devices provisioned by Dell. And in some cases, most because of the pandemic, giving them laptops so they have the option to work from home.
And how do you know so much about computers?
I have 4 years of computer science under my belt. I'm kind of a computer nerd, so I just enjoy working with the machines generally. And I'm in school right now for data analytics, trying to use my computer science degree from prior.
Well, sounds like INP is lucky to have you, but you went on from that internship in tech refresh to get a full-time job.
Yeah, so I was told that a position was opening up in the devices team, and they said that they'd like to see me apply for it and see where we went from there. I was one of 4 candidates, and they said that my qualifications matched, and I had been with the department for 9 months already, and they'd like to hire me on full time.
Awesome. Did you anticipate that working out like that when you took the internship?
Honestly, no. When I first started, it was unpaid for a couple of months, and then it went into a regular paid internship. But I just enjoy my team, really. So I was excited to be offered the job doing something that I like with people that I like.
Congratulations. So where are you from originally?
I grew up in Florida, and then I spent, 3 or 4 years in the Chicago area with the dad's side of my family. And then I took a job as a flight attendant and ended up not using my degree in computer science. Lived in New York for a little bit, lived in Denver, Colorado for a little bit. And then when the pandemic hit, I got furloughed and started trying to use my prior experience and my degree. So I went back to school and took an internship to start from the bottom.
And where did you go back to school?
I'm currently going to CCAC for another year, and then Pitt for the remaining 2.
Awesome. So everything you read today indicates being a flight attendant job is one step short of a police officer. Did you run into any unruly passengers?
I wouldn't say unruly necessarily. Definitely a lot of inebriated people that when their inhibitions are lowered, and I think being 40,000 feet in the air doesn't help. They react very poorly to a lot of things. They don't like direction. They don't like being told they can't drink anymore.
Oh, you had to tell people that sometimes?
Yeah, I had, or we'd float them, so they'd ask for a drink, and we tell them it was on the house, but we just pour Coke on top of some water, so it looked.
Any physical altercations?
I did get hit by a passenger once, which was a bizarre situation for me. So we held the plane for him because his incoming plane was late. And he was the last passenger on board and demanded space for his bags, and we didn't have space for his bags, and that upset him. So he punched me.
He figured that there just ought to be enough space, and it was your fault that there wasn't.
Yeah, it was absolutely been my fault. Thankfully, no one at the city has done that to me yet.
Well, great learning experience, but you don't miss it.
No, I'm really thankful for the opportunity. But what I always say is that my job as a flight attendant was a job and not a career. So I'm looking to take the experiences that I've gained here at the city and further my knowledge and build a career out of it.
That's awesome. How did you cope with COVID-19?
I taught myself how to garden and bake and cook because I was terrible.
Are you now good at cooking and gardening?
I'm good at cooking.
That's funny. And had you ever been interested in gardening before, or were you just so bored that you'd try anything?
I was just trying to find stuff to do that was mostly indoors or didn't have me around people a whole lot.
Hmm. So are you someone who doesn't really need that much social interaction, and so it wasn't that really a big deal?
I really don't mind social interaction. I think I used to be a social butterfly before I was a flight attendant, and after I still have, that people person aspect, but I don't necessarily feel like I have to be around people all the time. I enjoy my private time now.
Do you miss winters in Florida?
No, I actually prefer the cold to the heat.
Huh. You couldn't wait to get out of Florida.
Nope. I don't like the humidity and I don't like the heat. So for me, it was, I go back to visit for maybe a week tops.
And that's usually in the winter, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So are you going to continue your career focused on computers, or might it take you in different directions?
No, I think I'm going to stay computer focused. The pandemic really left me with an impression of two things. Two careers that I don't ever see really losing value are computers and medicine. And so I'm very thankful that I had some experience to begin with to be able to jump into this internship and build from there. And I think I'll just stick with this career and, try and really accumulate some knowledge as I go.
Something I often kid about is that I'm always surprised that there are so many hardworking, dedicated people in city government, as opposed to the stereotype of people with their feet up on the desk smoking a cigarette. Has that surprised you as well?
I was told that, things are a little bit chaotic generally across departments, and I don't really see that. I think, especially with the pandemic, I see a lot of cooperation. I see a lot of people coming into work and they didn't have to. I see a lot of people caring and going the extra mile to try and get everybody moving and rolling. So for me, it's been a positive experience.
All right. And you have any hobbies? Well, you said gardening and cooking. Anything else?
I like to bowl.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Are you any good at it?
I used to be.
Oh, out of practice.
Yeah, it's been a while. I think I went for the first time 2 weeks ago in years, and it was rough. I still had fun though.
Well, yeah, I guess there weren't a lot of bowling alleys open during COVID, right?
No.
No.
I'm pretty sure they were all closed.
Would you recommend a career in city government to the average human?
Yeah, I would actually. I think that the city takes very good care of its employees. I haven't seen anything out of the ordinary that would make me say no. I really enjoy my job. I enjoy interacting with other people in all the other departments. We all get along really well. We have good working relationships.
Is it so? You being on the devices team, that's one of the few teams that spent a lot of time in the office during COVID. Is it going to be weird when you're surrounded by 70 or 80 humans instead of 3 or 4?
And that might be a little bit different, but with the amount of Zoom calls that I've been in every day, I know most of these people and what they look like, albeit it's in a little box like we are right now. So maybe seeing them in person will be a little different, but I'm pretty comfortable with everybody. It'd be nice to see them and point out and be like, hey, I know you.
Yeah, and I guess we'll still be wearing masks, at least in the short term, or so I'm told.
Yes. So as far as I know, we are still wearing masks on the 6th floor of the IMP building. I don't know about any other departments for sure. Just ours.
I'm sorry, wasp just flew into my apartment. So because of that, I will let you go.
Thanks for having me.
The lobby of your doctor's office. You go tend to you, and I'll go tend to the wasp.
All right. Have a good one, John.
We'll be back with another guest on City Talk, a Pittsburgh patrolman. Stay with us. Welcome back to City Talk. Say hello to Patrolman Tariq Francis, who joins us live via Zoom, at least live on tape, if you will. Officer Tariq, welcome to City Talk.
Thank you, John. Thanks for having me.
So how and when did you decide to become a Pittsburgh police officer?
It was about 2015. I did a stint in teaching and coaching, a stint in nonprofit, and I felt like I just needed to change of pace. So in 2015, I was offered the job to be a city of Pittsburgh police officer, and I haven't looked back since.
How about that? And what made you even decide? I mean, it's a pretty brave decision to become a police officer anywhere, including in Pittsburgh. What made you think that that was your calling?
That's what I got my degree in. My mother is a law enforcement officer. She's a lieutenant in New Jersey. And it was really just my calling. It was really, I knew I wanted to do it for a while. I wasn't sure on what level, whether it be sheriff or state police. The City of Pittsburgh Police gave me the opportunity first, and I stuck with them ever since.
Now, I know as you know, we talked before, and you mentioned that one of the toughest days you've had to face so far was the Tree of Life horrible situation, and you were the second or third officer on the scene.
Correct. I was the second officer called. The first was Sergeant Brian Marcasato, and I arrived on scene. When I arrived on scene, the actor was actively shooting out of the glass at the police.
That must have been a very troubling and trying and horrible day.
Yes, definitely the toughest day that I've had on the job.
And you also mentioned to me, though, that there are good days, like when you do kids and cops camps.
Oh, cops with kids camps, yes. That's one of my favorite weeks. We do it for about 3 or 4 weeks for different groups of kids. Due to COVID, last year was the first year I wasn't able to participate, or we didn't have it. But those are that's a week where you get to interact with different youth from around the area, and not so much just in a policing setting. You take them to different places, you really get to know them. It just really puts a face on police officers for them, and just let them know that we're just people too.
How old are these kids generally?
Usually 9 to 13.
Okay, and what are their first impressions of police officers? I imagine many of them don't know what to expect.
They don't. They actually treat us like teachers for the most part. So they're very respectful. We've never had any issues at the camp. A lot of kids come back. So a lot of kids you get to know through the years, because they'll come from the time they're 9 to the time they age out of the camp. So it's actually like, and not having it last year was tough, but it's actually a good chance to get to know the kids and for them to get to know you.
And what do they want to know? You know, what kinds of questions?
Really, they just want to know, do you have kids? Do you have pets? Do you have what sports do your kids play? What team are they on? Are you married? What does your wife do? Where do you live?
They're nosy.
What car do you drive?
These are nosy young people.
Yeah.
So you're from New Jersey originally. How'd you end up in
Yes,
How'd you get
I went to
from
the University of Pittsburgh, and I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I went to the University of Pittsburgh, and I just never left. I got a job straight out of college. I already had my own place, own vehicle. So my options were, when I graduated, were go live with my mom and try to find a job, or, hunker down and move forward. And I just chose to move forward.
And what was the job you got right out of college?
I worked at the downtown YMCA. I was a youth coordinator.
And then you've also been a basketball coach in the city, correct?
I won the last city championship at Westinghouse High School. I coached at Westinghouse High School for about 4 years.
You were a kid, did you dream of being in the NBA or anything?
No, I didn't. I knew that was a long shot. I was never that good.
Okay. Well, those who can't do teach, I guess, as they say.
Right.
So now you won a championship, though. That must have been a pretty big accomplishment.
It was, especially at Westinghouse. And I think up until then, they hadn't made the playoffs in over 10 years. So to win the city championship was, especially on the boys' side, was a huge accomplishment.
So you still really enjoy, obviously, day-to-day police work.
Yes, it's actually hard for me to leave. I had a couple opportunities to leave. I didn't put in any specials to go anywhere. I did take the sergeant's test, and I'm on the sergeant's list, but I really enjoy patrol work.
What do you like about it?
That is never the same. 1 minute you can be dealing with a parking complaint. Next minute it could be a violent domestic. Next call might be a missing juvenile. You never really know what you're going to get. So that's what I like about it is it's not bland. It's something different, call to call.
So that's good. Are you a bit of an adrenaline junkie? I was in the news for years, and they told me I had to be one of those, or I wouldn't be in that business. That's why I asked.
I enjoy the rush, but sometimes I enjoy the calm.
Right.
A lot of times too, what people don't realize is a lot of this job is actually helping people. So I'm naming them more high priority calls. A lot of our calls, like I got a call the other day for a woman who needed her phone and answering machine set up. She was blind. Her husband had recently passed away. And she needed the new phone, her phone and answering machine set up. And she called 911 to get it done. So I came, I set it up. And it worked with another officer to get her some more services also.
All right. So is that somewhat typical? I mean, you keep hearing people say, well, maybe we ought to start sending social workers to some calls as opposed to police officers, but it sounds like you do a little bit of both.
You definitely do a little bit of both. You just got to be patient. I mean, at the end of the day, if she called for help, and I'm there to help her, set it up to the best of my ability. I wish I more. I did have to leave the answer. The hardest part was she wanted her answer machine in Spanish, so I had to figure that out to set up her answer machine so that I could speak Spanish.
And you did figure it out.
Oh, I did figure it out. It was only a couple buttons. I just pressed the buttons a couple times. Then I Googled it. I Googled the make and model and then set her up.
Oh, good for you. The magical, mystical Google machine. So how have you been COVID-19?
I've been fortunate. My family fortunate. We didn't miss a beat. COVID-19 came into effect and they made some changes at work, but we still had to go. So it was no COVID. I was at work. They said, okay, COVID, put some protocols in place, and we were at work the next day. So, I mean, fortunate for me, I didn't have to, I wasn't laid off or anything of that nature. And my family, we didn't really miss a beat.
Would you recommend a career in being a police officer to young people out there?
I would. It has to be a calling though, because you have some really, really good days, and then you have some really, really tough days. So you got to have thick skin, especially with the climate now. You got to be willing to be patient. And then you really have to be an effective police officer, you have to know your job. You have to know what you can and can't do. This way, if somebody's telling you to get out their face and you have no grounds to be in there, get out their face, leave them alone. But if you have to be there, you have a lawful reason to be there and you have to do your job, then you could effectively do your job as long as you study up and you know what your job is. So I definitely would recommend it to anybody who's looking for a career. It's definitely a career and a calling.
Did you develop a thick skin as you went along, or did you already have that going in?
I'm from New Jersey. I already had it.
How would you compare New Jersey to Pittsburgh? Are they similar or they're very different?
New Jersey is just a little bit faster in terms of the hustle and bustle. More people are kind of hustling in New Jersey. Like, everybody, your neighbor is selling socks. They got a full-time job, but they might be selling socks, or 2 houses down, they might be selling dinners. So it's just Pittsburgh is really unique because it's so many bridges and rivers and tunnels. So it's one big city, but it's really separated. It's very separated, So with New Jersey,
lots of neighborhoods.
Lots of neighborhoods, and then and people tend to stick to their neighborhood also, which is very unique here.
True enough. Well, Tariq Francis, I can't thank you enough for agreeing to appear on City Talk. Have any final thoughts?
No, John, I appreciate you having me. Hopefully this comes out well, and maybe we can do it again in the near future, John.
Right.
Right.
Thank you so much for doing it, and have a great
You
day.
too. Thank you, John. You take care.
That is it for this episode of City Talk. We will definitely see you next time.